we see the deserted landscape of post-apocalyptic Australia. There is no electricity, no internet.
Ladies and gentlemen!
The earth is poisoned, people are destroying each other, plundering is rampant, civilization is coming to an end. In the midst of all this, two girls, Valkyrie and Furiosa, are looking for ripe fruit. At that moment, Furiosa notices a biker gang not far away.
Be invisible, still as a rock till I get back.
They are busy sharing the horse meat. Furiosa sneaks up on the bikes and cuts the fuel hose on one of them. At the second bike, one of the thugs catches her. Furiosa stabs him in the thigh and runs away. She whistles, calling for help from her tribe. The whistle is heard by her mother Mary, but she suddenly freezes to make sure it wasn't her imagination. Furiosa tries to climb up the cliff, but the biker comes up and pulls the girl down with his whip. With a hard fist, the biker knocks the whistle out of her hand. Mary suddenly decides, well, yes, someone is whistling. She jumps on the rider's horse and together they ride to the rescue. The bikers have already started their engines and are in a hurry to leave. The thugs come within sight of the pursuers. The blonde, who is actually Chris Hemsworth's wife, Elsa Pataky, jumps off the horse, raises her gun and shoots the thug. The other rider immediately leaves the passenger seat and retrieves the abandoned bike. Mary catches up with him and calms the rider with a swing of her machete. She then gets on the newly orphaned bike and continues the chase alone.
The stars be with you.
A little later, Mary takes down another biker with a well-aimed shot. There are only two bandits left. They stop, take the gas tank and the front tire from the bike lying on the sand and continue on their way. Meanwhile, Furiosa comes to her senses and starts systematically chewing on the fuel hose. Mary reaches the abandoned bike, removes the gas tank from it, as well as the front tire, and rides newly assembled bike. Furiosa manages to chew the hose, and by nightfall, the bike stalls. The bandit is furious, but he doesn't have time to do anything, because in the silence of the desert, he hears the bike approaching. The thugs recognize the engine, but can't figure out how the disassembled bike can get any closer.
That's the thunder bike!
I thought you crippled it.
I did!
One of the thugs tries to find out from the girl who catches up with them. The other doesn't wait for an answer. He jumps behind the bike and tries to escape. But his friend stops the coward and convinces him that it is better to return to Dementus with the girl.
No one's gonna scum us anymore.
No one's gonna scum us anymore.
No one's gonna scum us anymore!
Furiosa manages to free herself and runs away, but in vain. Biker catches her again. The next morning, the chase continues. Mary sees the bikes through the optical sight. She also sees a large camp where the kidnappers are rushing. Mary takes down one of them and shoots out the tire of the last bike to avoid hitting the girl. However, the biker manages to enter the camp. He is proud of his find and will only talk to Dementus himself.
I speak only to Dementus.
Where are you from?
My lips, Dementus.
At that moment, Furiosa grabs the end of his scarf and slips it into the wheel. Wrapped around the chain, it nearly takes the kidnapper's head off. Furiosa herself is brought to the tent of Dementus.
What's your name?
The only thing they manage to find out is that the girl comes from a place of abundance that the bandits are so eager to find. The bikers live in the desert and dream of finding this legendary place. But they do not know how to get there. The girl is stubbornly silent. Even the wounded biker, who kidnapped Furiosa, cannot help. Good girl took care of him. Then Dementus makes a decision. He is kind, so the girl will eat, drink, wash, sleep, and in the morning, he will personally take her home by the tracks in the sand. The tracks are probably gone by now. Meanwhile, Mary reaches the dead biker, takes his bike, puts on his helmet, and heads to the campsite. She finds the tent where her daughter is being held. Mary takes out the two guards with a slingshot without regret.
Please, I'm a mother too.
Mother and daughter jump on the bike and try to escape in the cover of a sandstorm. But the desert is a thug's element. The storm doesn't stop them. They quickly find the trail and give chase. Mary realizes they cannot escape, so they stop. Mary takes her daughter's promise that she will wait for her for 24 hours, but then she will go home.
Promise me you'll find your way home.
With a rifle in her hand, she meets her pursuers. Predictably, she is soon captured. Furiosa doesn't listen and runs to her mother. In the end, Furiosa falls into the hands of Dementus. Her mother gives her life essentially for nothing. Some time passes. Dementus's gang drives 24 men to the edge of the abyss. He is ready to take them into his horde. But the problem is that there are only 5 bikes. So he gives them weapons and offers to prove which of them is worthy to take a place in the saddle of the Iron Horse. The fight begins among them. The most violent ones get rid of their tribesmen and get on bikes. They don't care at all that there are chains attached to the bikes, and each chain is attached to a captive's leg or arm. At Dementus's command, they ride.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Caged, Furiosa is forced to witness all of these atrocities. In the evening, Dementus's personal chef offers him freshly prepared Turkish sucuk, which he enjoys. The historian of Dementus, who looks like Gandalf the White, also travels with Furiosa in the cage. The old man offers to teach the girl to write, so she can become a historian. He tells her to become indispensable, and Dementus will protect her. At one point, the biker horde stumbles upon a man. He's standing in the road, somehow hoping he's already in Valhalla.
Am I in Valhalla? Good for you. We're looking for a place of abundance.
Valhalla in Australia? Don't make me laugh. Dementus finds out that the stranger comes from the Citadel, a fortress where water and greenery abound. That's all Dementus wants. He asks for directions, and the bikers ride in the indicated direction. Ahead, they are greeted by 3 rocks, topped by trees and blooming oases. The fortress is guarded by about 1,000 war boys. They are under the command of the immortan Joe and his advisors. Dementus suggests that they all surrender and go down.
All of you have a choice. I want your leaders.
One of the advisors, named People Eater, asks Dementus to choose one of his minions.
Among all his warriors assembled here, choose one.
What if I choose not to choose?
Then you'll never know the truth.
When he randomly chooses one of them,
You are awaited.
he rushes down and blows up several members of Dementus's gang. Every war boy is ready to protect his home like this, so there is no point in attacking them. Immortan defiantly turns his back and slowly walks away. The war boys start throwing explosive spears and descending on chains. They grab the bikes with hooks and lift them up. In the midst of the chaos, Dementus barely manages to escape. He rescues Furiosa from the clutches of the local cannibals and rides off. Later, Dementus begins guerrilla warfare. They ambush Citadel's fuel truck and attack it, but that's just the beginning of the plan. Pretending to be the war boys, they get into the truck and drive at full speed back to Fuel City, known as Gastown. The rest of the gang is supposedly after them. The whole idea is that Gastown will want to save the truck and the Immortan's men, so they will open the gates of the city. However, the city guard only opens the gates when the people on the truck start getting killed for real.
Open the gates.
Gastown has fallen. The finger of the city keeper was sent to the Immortan, asking for negotiations. The meeting has taken place. Dementus's goal is to shake more food out of the Immortan, and then Dementus will let his trucks in and out of Gastown. But a counter-proposal wins the day. The food is more on the bare minimum, and Furiosa stays with him as well as the organic mechanic. The sides agree and disperse.
What a day. What a deal. What a day.
Furiosa is sent to the harem with the other wives of the Immortan. After some time, she manages to escape, but only from the harem. Disguised as a man, Furiosa begins to live among these people in the role of a mechanic, unrecognized by anyone. A few years pass. The mechanics are ordered to build a super truck that can transport gas and withstand attacks. The driver will be Jack, known as Road Warrior or Praetorian. He has traveled the Road of Fury more than once, but each time has brought the goods to their final destination. Furiosa plans to escape on that truck. So the truck is on the road, escorted by the war boys, with Furiosa holding onto the bottom. They are attacked by Dementus's former bikers. The enemies confront each other. Any damage to the truck can be repaired on the road. The odds are stacked one side and the other. Furiosa has to reveal herself. It's hard to stay incognito when you have to kick attackers and make sure someone doesn't blow up the truck. Finally, she's in the cab with driver Jack. Together, they fire back at the marauders. This leaves only the girl and driver Jack in the truck. She points a gun at him and orders him to stop and leave the truck. But the guy is toughy. Jack hits the brakes hard, and as Furiosa flies forward with inertia, he kicks her in the direction, throwing her out of the cab. Then, he calmly drives off, leaving the girl in the middle of nowhere. A short time later, he returns to pick her up. Jack offers Furiosa to go with him. He will teach her everything she needs to know. After a while, she'll be able to get where she wants to go. Their journey together begins. Furiosa learns. Time passes, she grows up. One day, Jack says she is done here. In a few days, he will be able to get her supplies and a car, and she can go wherever she wants. But for now, a few more trips. The destination is Gastown, where Dementus continues to rule. He is not a very good ruler, so people run away from him. Those who stay are not of their own free will, and they are very angry with the ruler, because he only feeds them with McDonald's. Dementus does not recognize the girl.
Are you in charge here?
He asks Jack to tell the immortan that a war council is needed in 3 days. Meanwhile, the hungry people make it clear that they are very interested in the truck and the supplies it was carrying. Dementus advises Jack to leave quickly, but he demands to fill their tanks. The rioting around them prevents this. Dementus only has time to yell for them to stay behind, and his car takes off. Jack has no choice but to follow. In the end, the food is delivered to Gastown, but the gas in payment is not loaded. The immortan, his advisors, and his sons are outraged. They make a plan to attack the gas town. Jack and Furiosa make another trip to the bullet farm. Halfway through the trip, Jack insists that she ride in the convoy car. At the end of the road, they are ambushed by Dementus, who has taken over the farm. The lowered iron gates cut off the truck from the girl's car. Jack starts shooting back. Furiosa helps from the side of the gate. Jack is not able to escape. He decides to drive further into the depths of the farm. But the girl can't just ditch the driver. She helps him with a sniper rifle. At one point, Dementus almost hits her with a grenade launcher, but Furiosa survives. She sees a giant excavator hook Jack's truck and drag it into the abyss. Furiosa jumps on the bike and rushes to the truck. The huge vehicle begins to fall off the cliff. Furiosa manages to throw Jack a rope and saves him at the last moment. Together, they make their way back to the gate, get into the convoy car, and leave Bullet Farm. But this is not the end. The chase begins for the couple, and our heroes are out of luck. Jack gets shot in the shoulder. Dementus's big-wheeled car pushes so close that Furiosa's hand gets caught between the car and the giant wheel, instantly turning it into a chicken pawn. Biker Warlord knocks the fugitives off the road, and their car stops at the bottom of a ravine. The chase is over.
You two break my heart.
Jack is tied to a chain and dragged behind a bike. Before he's completely wiped out on the sand and rocks, they set cannibal dogs on him. And Furiosa has to watch it all. Her injured arm is tied to the winch chain and she is lifted up so that she can see everything. Dementus himself climbs onto the roof of his truck and joins in. More than an hour passes before he has had enough. He orders to stop and go home. Imagine his surprise when instead of the girl, only her hand dangles from the chain. What he didn't see was Furiosa chewing it off and fleeing on her bike. The girl is immediately pursued. By some unimaginable miracle, the girl escapes the pursuit and makes it to the Citadel. She tells the immortan that Dementus has taken over the Bullet Farm and is now targeting the Citadel. According to his plan, the immortan and his army will go to Gastown to deal with the villain, but he will not be there. At that time, he will quietly attack the Citadel that was left behind. Immortan decides to just pretend that everyone is after Gastown. The only thing Furiosa asks him to do is to give her Dementus. The trick works. And from that moment on, the Wasteland's 40-day war begins. During this time, Furiosa makes herself a prosthetic arm and rushes to the front lines. Immortan's men assemble a car from all the scraps and parts. The immortan's sons use it to chase the fleeing Dementus. While they argue, the girl gets into the car and steals it. She sees the fugitives, and even as they split up, she rushes after Dementus. However, it turns out that she was tricked and had to go back and drive the other way. As a result, she catches up to him, but doesn't kill him right away.
You found me.
Dementus tried very hard to provoke Furiosa, but he never got a bullet in his forehead. That would be too easy for him. In fact, his plight is much worse. There is a tree growing in the Citadel, but its roots are not in the ground, they are in the body of a living man. It slowly sucks all the life out of him. This man is Dementus. Furiosa returns to the immortan's harem. Her goal now is to free his wives from their captivity. As night falls, she leads them to the truck, and they get in. All that's left is to leave the Citadel area and hide in the sands.